The morning alarm chimed softly through the dormitory halls of Nexus Station. Dave rolled out of his narrow bunk and stretched his arms. Today was his first day at the Galactic Cultural Exchange Program. He had been selected from thousands of human applicants to represent Earth in this prestigious intergalactic learning initiative. Dave grabbed his worn leather wallet from the nightstand. Inside was a small photo of his golden retriever, Max, sitting in their backyard. The dog's tongue hung out in what looked like a happy smile. Dave touched the photo gently before closing the wallet. He missed Max already, even though he had only been away from Earth for 3 days. The station corridors bustled with activity as various alien species moved between classes. Dave noticed how other beings stepped aside when he approached. Some pressed themselves against the walls. Others quickly moved to different hallways. He had read about this reaction in his briefing materials. Humans came from what the galaxy classified as a Class 12 Deathworld. Most other species found them intimidating. Dave entered Classroom 7B and took a seat in the back row. The chairs were adjustable for different body types, but even at the largest setting, it felt small for his 6-foot frame. Around him, other students whispered in languages that his universal translator couldn't quite process. The whispers stopped when they noticed him. A tall, blue-skinned being with 4 arms entered the room. This was Professor Thalen from the Ceridian Empire. The professor's large, dark eyes scanned the room and paused when they reached Dave. "Welcome, students, to Introduction to Interspecies Relationships," Professor Thalen announced. "Today we will discuss how different civilizations form bonds and partnerships with other living creatures." Dave raised his hand. Several students near him flinched at the sudden movement. "Yes, Human Dave?" the professor asked carefully. "I'd be happy to share about human relationships with animals if that would help," Dave offered with a friendly smile. The classroom fell completely silent. A small, insect-like being in the front row made a clicking sound that the translator interpreted as distress. Professor Thalen's 4 hands fidgeted with nervousness. "That would be educational," the professor replied slowly. "Please tell us about these relationships." Dave stood up, causing several students to lean away from him. "Well, humans have been companions with animals for thousands of years. We call them pets. They live in our homes and become part of our families." Gasping sound came from multiple students. One reptilian being near the window actually hissed in alarm. "You capture other species?" asked a crystalline student whose body began glowing red. "No, not capture," Dave explained patiently. "It's more like adoption. We invite them into our homes and take care of them. In return, they give us companionship and love." "Love?" Professor Thalen's voice cracked slightly. "You claim these creatures feel affection for you?" "Absolutely. My dog Max greets me at the door every day when I come home from work. He gets so excited that his whole body wiggles. When I'm sad, he puts his head on my lap to comfort me." The insect-like student made rapid clicking sounds. Through the translator, Dave heard, "The human claims to hold a sentient being prisoner and calls it love." "Max isn't a prisoner," Dave protested, confused by their reactions. "He has free run of our house and yard. We play together every day. I throw a ball and he brings it back. He loves that game." "You force this creature to perform tricks for your entertainment?" The crystalline being was now glowing bright orange, which Dave's briefing materials had mentioned was a sign of extreme agitation. "No, it's play. Max enjoys it. When he doesn't want to play, he just lies down and ignores the ball. I never force him to do anything." Professor Thalen was making notes on his electronic pad, but his 4 hands were shaking. "Human Dave, how long have you held this Max in your home?" "He's been with my family for 8 years. We got him as a puppy when I was in college." The reptilian student stood up abruptly. 8 years of captivity! Professor, this is monstrous!" "It's not captivity." Dave's voice rose slightly, causing half the class to duck under their desks. He immediately lowered his voice and tried to appear less threatening. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to startle anyone, but Max isn't captive. He's family." "Family?" Professor Thalen whispered. "Yes. We celebrate his birthday every year. When he was sick last winter, we took him to the veterinarian and spent 2,000 credits on surgery to help him get better. We couldn't imagine losing him. You performed medical experiments on this being." The crystalline student was now pulsing between red and orange so rapidly that it was making other students dizzy. "Medical care, not experiments. We took him to a doctor who specializes in helping animals. Just like you'd take a family member to a hospital." Dave pulled out his wallet and showed them Max's photo. "Look, does this look like an unhappy creature?" The students peered at the photo from a distance, afraid to get too close to the human. They saw a golden-furred animal with bright eyes and what appeared to be a happy expression. "It shows its teeth," observed the reptilian student. "A threat display." "No, that's a happy pant. Dogs do that when they're excited or content. Max was playing in the sprinkler when I took this picture. He loves water." Professor Thalen studied the image carefully. "The creature does appear relaxed." "Because he is. Max has never known fear or hunger or cold. He sleeps on a comfortable bed, eats nutritious food, gets medical care when needed, and receives love and attention every day. In return, he provides companionship, protection, and unconditional love." "Protection?" several students asked in unison. "If someone tried to break into our house, Max would bark to warn us. He's protective of our family, especially the children." "You expose your young to this creature?" The insect-like being's clicking became so rapid it was hard for the translator to keep up. "My nephew visits every weekend. Max is incredibly gentle with him. The dog lets my nephew use him as a pillow during movie time. When my nephew cries, Max brings him toys to cheer him up." Dave noticed that some of the extreme fear in the room was beginning to shift to confusion and curiosity. Professor Thalen was no longer shaking, though he still looked bewildered. "This relationship you describe," the professor said slowly, "it benefits both species?" "Exactly. It's not ownership or captivity. It's partnership, mutual care and affection between two different species who chose to live together." The classroom remained silent, but it was no longer the silence of terror. It was the silence of minds trying to process something entirely new and unexpected. The research laboratory hummed with activity as Dr. Emma Rodriguez adjusted the holographic projector. She had been invited to give a special presentation to the Interspecies Biology Council about human-animal relationships. The council members sat in a semicircle around her, their various forms creating an impressive display of galactic diversity. Emma activated her personal data pad and smiled at the assembled aliens. "Thank you for this opportunity to share information about companion animals on Earth. I know there have been some concerning reports about humans keeping other species as pets." A tall, gray-skinned Altarian named Council Member Voss shifted uncomfortably in his chair. His large black eyes reflected the light from the projector. "Dr. Rodriguez, we have received disturbing accounts of humans forcing other creatures into servitude. We need to understand the true nature of these relationships." "I brought something that might help," Emma replied, reaching into her carrying case. She pulled out a small, fluffy orange creature with pointed ears and bright green eyes. "This is Whiskers, my cat." The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Several council members jumped from their seats. A purple tentacled being from the Xerion Collective actually fell backward off his chair. The insectoid representative began making rapid chirping sounds that the translator interpreted as panic. "Put that creature down immediately!" shouted Counselor Zara, a crystalline being whose body was now flashing red warning colors. "You cannot bring a captive life form into this chamber." Whiskers looked around the room with mild interest, then began purring softly. The sound vibrated through Emma's arms as she held him gently. He's not captive, Emma explained calmly. Whiskers chose to come with me today. Watch this. She set the cat down on the floor. Instead of running away or cowering in fear, Whiskers stretched leisurely, then walked over to examine the nearest council member's chair. The Altarian Voss pressed himself back against his seat as the small orange creature sniffed his feet with curiosity. It's investigating potential escape routes, whispered the purple Zerion delegate, who had managed to climb back into his chair. No, he's just curious about new scents. Cats explore their environment to understand it better. Emma knelt down and made a soft clicking sound with her tongue. Whiskers immediately trotted back to her and rubbed against her leg, purring louder. Did you see that? He came when I called him because he wanted to, not because he was forced. Counselor Zara's crystal body was still flashing red. You have conditioned this creature to respond to your commands through fear or hunger. Emma reached into her pocket and pulled out a small treat. She held it in her open palm and offered it to Whiskers. The cat sniffed it, then turned away, uninterested. He's not hungry right now, so he ignored the treat. If I were controlling him through food, he would take it anyway. Emma picked up Whiskers again and began gently stroking his fur. The purring grew louder. What is that sound? Asked the insectoid. Representative, his antennae twitching nervously. He's purring. It's a sound cats make when they're happy and content. It's completely voluntary. They only do it when they feel safe and loved. Voss leaned forward slightly, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. How do you know this indicates pleasure rather than distress? Years of observation and study. When cats are frightened or angry, they make completely different sounds. They hiss, growl, or yowl. They also change their body language. Watch Whiskers now. The cat was completely relaxed in Emma's arms, his eyes half closed in contentment. His paws were tucked neatly under his body, and his tail hung loosely. Now watch what happens when I pretend to threaten him. Emma raised her hand as if to strike, but stopped well short of actually touching the cat. Whiskers immediately tensed. His ears flattened against his head, his eyes opened wide, and he made a low warning sound. Emma quickly lowered her hand and resumed gentle petting. The cat relaxed again within seconds, returning to his content, purring. You see? He has clear ways to communicate his feelings. The fact that he's purring means he feels safe and happy. The Zerion delegate's tentacles writhed with confusion. But why would another species choose to live with humans? What benefit does it gain? Emma activated the holographic projector. Images of her home appeared in the air above them. Whiskers lives in my house. He has multiple comfortable beds, though he usually prefers to sleep on mine. He has toys, climbing structures, and sunny windows to look out of. His food is provided daily, and he has access to clean water at all times. The holograms showed Whiskers playing with various toys, sleeping in sunbeams, and eating from a colorful bowl. He also receives medical care when needed. Last year, he developed a minor infection. I took him to a veterinarian who specialized in feline health. The doctor examined him, prescribed medicine, and monitored his recovery. You mentioned your bed, Voss noted. The creature sleeps with you? Often, yes. Cats are social animals despite their reputation for independence. Whiskers chooses to sleep near me because it makes him feel secure. Sometimes he sleeps on my feet, sometimes curled up next to my pillow. Emma showed another hologram of herself reading on a couch with Whiskers stretched across her lap. He also provides companionship. After a difficult day at work, coming home to Whiskers helps me relax. His presence is comforting. So you gain psychological benefits from this arrangement? The insectoid asked. Absolutely. Studies have shown that interacting with pets reduces stress, lowers blood pressure, and can even help with depression. The relationship benefits both of us. Counselor Zara's crystal form had stopped flashing red and was now pulsing a curious yellow. Show us more of these benefits. Emma put Whiskers down again and sat on the floor. She patted her lap and made the clicking sound. The cat walked over and climbed onto her lap, circling once before settling down. He began purring again and started kneading her leg with his paws. He's kneading, which is something cats do when they're extremely content. It's a behavior from kittenhood when they knead their mother's belly while nursing. Adult cats only do this when they feel completely safe and loved. The council members watched in fascination as this supposed captive creature voluntarily sought affection from his human companion. The relationship is built on trust and mutual benefit, Emma continued, gently scratching behind Whiskers' ears. He provides me with companionship, comfort, and even some practical benefits, like alerting me to unusual sounds in the house. I provide him with food, shelter, medical care, and affection. Voss was taking notes on his electronic pad. How long have you had this arrangement with Whiskers? 5 years. I adopted him from an animal shelter when he was young. The shelter cares for abandoned or orphaned animals and helps match them with suitable human families. Adopted? The Zarian delegate asked. We don't buy and sell companion animals like property. Adoption involves screening potential families to ensure they can provide proper care. It's about finding the right match between human and animal personalities. Emma activated one final hologram showing various pets with their human families, dogs playing with children, cats sleeping peacefully, birds perched contentedly on human shoulders. These relationships have existed for thousands of years. They're not based on domination or control, but on love, trust, and mutual care between species. The room fell silent as the council members processed this information. Whiskers, oblivious to the profound shift in understanding occurring around him, stretched and began grooming his paw with the careful attention that only a truly content cat could manage. The emergency alert pierced through the quiet evening aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony's Edge. Captain Riley Hayes rushed from her quarters toward the medical bay, her boots echoing against the metal corridors. As the only human aboard the mixed-species crew, she was used to being called for situations that others found difficult to handle. Dr. Kelth, the ship's Rigelian medical officer, met her at the entrance to the medical bay. His 6 arms were gesturing frantically, and his normally calm blue complexion had turned a worried shade of purple. Captain Hayes, we have a situation that requires your expertise, Dr. Kelth said rapidly. The Zentorian ambassador's child has fallen ill, and they are requesting specifically for you to attend. Riley raised an eyebrow. I'm not a doctor, Kelth. Why would they want me instead of you? That's what concerns me. Ambassador Thrix mentioned something about your experience with dependent creatures and interspecies care protocols. I believe they may be referring to the human practice of keeping pets. Riley's expression grew serious. The Zentorians were a proud, ancient race who had only recently joined the Galactic Council. Their understanding of other cultures was limited, and they had been particularly disturbed by reports of human pet-keeping practices. Let me guess, Riley said grimly. They think I'm qualified to treat their child because they believe humans have experience keeping other species as captives. I'm afraid that may be the case, Captain. Riley entered the medical bay to find Ambassador Thrix pacing beside a medical bed where a small Zentorian child lay sleeping. The ambassador was tall and elegant, with silver skin that shimmered under the medical bay lights. Their child, perhaps equivalent to a human 10-year-old, had patches of dull gray skin that indicated illness. Captain Hayes, Ambassador Thrix said with relief. Thank you for coming. My child, Pip, has been sick for 2 days. Our medical knowledge is limited compared to yours, and we know humans have extensive experience caring for other species. Riley felt her heart sink. They really did think she was qualified because of pet ownership. But looking at the sick child, she knew she had to help clarify the situation while still providing assistance. Ambassador, I think there's been a misunderstanding about human relationships with animals. But first, let's focus on Pip. Dr. Kelth is actually much more qualified than I am to provide medical care. But surely your experience with dependent species gives you insights that others lack. Ambassador Thrix insisted. Riley pulled up a chair next to the medical bed. Pip stirred slightly and opened large, dark eyes that were clouded with fever. "Let me tell you about that experience while Dr. Kelth examines Pip," Riley said gently. "I do have a pet back on Earth, a dog named Scout. But the relationship isn't what you might think." As Dr. Kelth began his examination, Riley continued. "Scout came to live with me 3 years ago. He was abandoned as a puppy and needed care. But he's not a prisoner or a captive." Ambassador Thrix watched as Dr. Kelth carefully checked Pip's vital signs. "How do you ensure this Scout remains obedient if not through control?" "I don't control him. Our relationship is built on trust and affection. When Scout was very young, he was scared and sick, much like Pip is now. I spent weeks nursing him back to health, feeding him small amounts of food every few hours, keeping him warm, making sure he got proper medical care." Pip made a small sound and reached toward Riley with a trembling hand. Without thinking, Riley gently took the child's hand in hers, the same way she would comfort any frightened youngster. "The key was patience and consistency," Riley continued, noticing how Pip seemed to relax slightly at her touch. "Scout learned to trust me because I was always gentle with him, always made sure his needs were met, and never hurt him." "Dr. Kelth," Ambassador Thrix called. "What have you found?" "Pip has a mild infection that should respond well to treatment," the doctor replied. "But the child seems very anxious, which may be slowing recovery. Stress can inhibit healing in young Zentorians." Riley noticed that Pip was indeed tense, even while holding her hand. The child kept looking around nervously at the unfamiliar medical equipment. "When Scout was sick, he was also very frightened," Riley said softly, speaking to both the ambassador and the child. "Being in a strange place with strange smells and sounds can be scary. Do you know what helped Scout feel better?" Pip looked at her with curious eyes. "I would sit with him and tell him stories. Not exciting adventure stories that might keep him awake, but calm, peaceful stories about safe places and friends who cared about him." Riley began speaking in a gentle, rhythmic voice, describing a beautiful garden where young creatures played safely under the care of loving guardians. As she spoke, she noticed Pip's breathing becoming more regular and the child's grip on her, hand relaxing. Ambassador Thrix watched in amazement as their child, who had been restless and anxious for 2 days, began to settle into peaceful rest. "You see," Riley continued quietly, "caring for another being, whether it's a pet or a child, requires the same things: patience, gentleness, consistency, and genuine concern for their well-being." Dr. Kelth administered medication while Pip dozed, the child barely stirring because of how calm and secure they felt. "The human practice of pet keeping," Riley explained to Ambassador Thrix, "isn't about domination or control. It's about forming families that cross species boundaries. We provide care, protection, and love. In return, we receive companionship, affection, and the joy of nurturing another life." "But how do you know when this Scout is content versus merely resigned to captivity?" the ambassador asked. Riley smiled. "The same way you know when Pip is, happy versus just compliant. Body language, enthusiasm, whether they seek out your company or avoid it. Scout greets me eagerly when I come home, brings me his toys when he wants to play, and chooses to sleep near me even when he has other options." As if to demonstrate her point, Pip unconsciously snuggled closer to Riley's warmth while sleeping, finding comfort in her presence. "Happy, healthy beings actively participate in relationships," Riley continued. "They show joy, curiosity, and affection. Scout has never tried to run away even when doors are left open. He stays because he wants to be part of our family." Ambassador Thrix observed their child sleeping peacefully for the first time in days. Your presence has indeed calmed Pip. There is something to be said for your approach to caring for dependent beings. It's not specifically a human approach, Riley replied. It's universal. Whether you're caring for a pet, a child, or helping a sick friend, the principles are the same. Respect, kindness, attention to their needs, and genuine love. Over the next few hours, Riley stayed with Pip while the medication worked. She told more gentle stories, helped with water and food when the child was ready for them, and provided the kind of calm, reassuring presence that promoted healing. By morning, Pip's fever had broken, and the gray patches on their skin were returning to healthy silver. The child was sitting up and actually giggling at one of Riley's stories. Ambassador Thrix approached Riley privately. "I owe you an apology, Captain. I misunderstood the nature of human-pet relationships. What I observed was not the behavior of someone who controls others through force, but of someone skilled in the art of compassionate care." Riley nodded. The best relationships, whether between humans and pets or any other beings, are built on mutual trust and affection. Force and control create fear and resentment. Love and respect create bonds that benefit everyone involved. As Pip recovered fully over the following days, word spread throughout the ship about the human captain's gentle approach to caregiving. The misunderstanding about pet ownership had led to a deeper understanding of the principles that create healthy relationships between all beings. The Galactic Trade Station buzzed with activity as merchants from dozens of worlds conducted business in the central marketplace. Lieutenant Alex Turner walked through the crowded corridors, enjoying his shore leave from the Earth diplomatic mission. He stopped at a small cafe that served food from various worlds and ordered something that looked reasonably safe for human consumption. At the next table sat 3 aliens engaged in an animated discussion. There was a tall, thin Vegan, with pale green skin, a stocky Meridian covered in brown fur, and a crystalline silicate whose body changed colors as they spoke. Alex couldn't help but overhear their conversation through his universal translator. "I still can't believe the humans are allowed in the Galactic Council," the Vegan was saying, their voice filled with disgust. "Did you hear about their barbaric practice of keeping other species as slaves?" Alex nearly choked on his drink. He looked around to see if anyone else had heard, but the cafe was noisy enough that the conversation seemed private to their small area. The Meridian nodded vigorously, their fur bristling with agitation. "I heard they capture intelligent creatures and force them to live in their homes. They call them pets, but it's clearly slavery." "Worse than slavery," added the silicate, their body glowing red with anger. "At least slaves are usually the same. Species. Humans cross species boundaries with their cruelty." Alex felt his face burning with embarrassment and anger. He wanted to ignore the conversation, but they were speaking loud enough for other customers to hear. He noticed several other aliens glancing toward the table with expressions of concern and disgust. "Excuse me," Alex said, standing up and approaching their table. "I couldn't help but overhear your conversation about humans and pets." The 3 aliens looked up at him with alarm. The Vegan actually pushed their chair back from the table when they realized they were speaking to a human. "I don't want any trouble," the Meridian said quickly, their fur standing on end. "There's no trouble," Alex replied, keeping his voice calm and friendly. "I just thought you might be interested in hearing the actual facts about human pet ownership, since there seems to be some confusion." The silicate's body was now flashing between red and orange. "We know the facts. Humans capture other species and force them into servitude." Alex pulled out his personal data pad and showed them a photo. "This is my pet dog, Ranger. I've had him for 4 years. Does he look like a captive to you?" The image showed a large golden dog running through a field, ears flapping in the wind, mouth open in what appeared to be joy. The 3 aliens studied the picture carefully. "It could be fleeing," the Vegan suggested, though they sounded less certain than before. "No, he's playing fetch. I threw a ball and he's running to get it. Watch this. Alex showed them a video of himself throwing a ball across a yard. Ranger chased after it eagerly, picked it up, and ran back to Alex with what looked like enthusiasm. When Alex held out his hand, the dog dropped the ball willingly and waited for Alex to throw it again. You see? If Ranger were being forced to do this, would he bring the ball back? Would he wait for me to throw it again? He's playing because he enjoys it. The Meridian's fur was beginning to settle down. But why would another species want to play games with humans? Because we're companions. Ranger and I both enjoy the game. I get exercise and entertainment, and so does he. It's fun for both of us. Alex showed them more photos and videos from his data pad. Ranger sleeping peacefully on a comfortable bed. Ranger eating from a bowl filled with nutritious food. Ranger playing with toys in a fenced yard. This is Ranger's daily life. He has food, shelter, medical care, toys, and companionship. In return, he provides me with friendship, loyalty, and protection. Protection? The silicate asked, their color shifting to a curious yellow. If someone tried to break into my home, Ranger would bark to alert me. He's naturally protective of his family, but he's never been trained to be aggressive. He's gentle with children and friendly with visitors. Alex showed them a video of Ranger playing gently with a small child, letting the toddler pet him and even use him as a pillow during nap time. You expose your young to this creature? The vegan asked, sounding horrified. Of course, Ranger loves children and they love him. Many human families have pets specifically because they're good companions for kids. Pets teach children about responsibility, empathy, and caring for others. The three aliens exchanged glances. Their initial fear and anger were being replaced by confusion and curiosity. But surely these animals are primitive, non-intelligent beings, the Meridian asked. They're different from humans, but they're definitely intelligent. Ranger can learn complex commands, solve problems, and even read human emotions. When I'm sad, he comes to comfort me. When I'm happy, he gets excited too. Alex played a video showing Ranger responding to various commands. Sit, stay, come, shake, hands. But more importantly, it showed the dog's obvious enthusiasm for interacting with Alex. Ranger's tail wagged constantly, and he seemed to enjoy the training session. These commands you speak of, the vegan said slowly. They sound like training for servitude. They're actually for safety and communication. Sit and stay prevent Ranger from running into dangerous situations like traffic. Come ensures he returns to me when called. These commands protect him. They don't oppress him. Alex leaned forward earnestly. Look, I understand why this might seem strange or even cruel from the outside, but the relationship between humans and pets isn't based on domination. It's based on mutual love and care. How can you be certain this Ranger feels love for you? The silicate asked. The same way you'd know if any friend cared about you. He seeks out my company, gets excited when I come home, wants to be near me when I'm relaxing. When I was sick last year, Ranger wouldn't leave my side. He seemed genuinely worried about me. Alex showed them one more video. Ranger greeting him. At the door after Alex had been away for a week. The dog's entire body wiggled with excitement, and he made happy whining sounds while jumping up to lick Alex's face. This is how Ranger acts every time I come home, even if I've only been gone for an hour. If he were being held against his will, would he be this happy to see me? The three aliens watched the video in silence. The pure joy displayed by both, human and dog, was unmistakable. This is not what we expected to see, the Meridian admitted. What you're seeing is a friendship that crosses species lines. Humans and dogs evolved together over thousands of years. Dogs chose to live with humans because it benefited both species. The vegan leaned back in their chair, looking thoughtful. You're saying this arrangement benefits the animal as well as the human? Absolutely. Ranger never has to worry about finding food, shelter, or safety. He gets medical care when sick, has toys and companions, and receives love and attention every day. In return, he gives me companionship, unconditional love, and yes, some protection. Alex put away his data pad and looked at each of them seriously. I know humans have a reputation as being from a dangerous world, and it's true that Earth is harsher than most planets. But that harsh environment taught us the value of cooperation, loyalty, and caring for those who depend on us. Whether it's a pet dog, a family member, or a friend from another species, humans believe in taking care of those we love. The pet relationship isn't about power or control. It's about family. The silicate's body had shifted to a calm blue color. This is very different from what we had heard. Unfortunately, cultural misunderstandings happen easily in a galaxy with so many different species. I hope this helps clear up some of the confusion about human pet ownership. As Alex returned to his table, he noticed that other aliens in the cafe had been listening to the conversation. Several nodded to him respectfully, and the atmosphere of fear and suspicion that had been building seemed to dissipate. The three aliens continued their conversation in much quieter tones, and Alex caught occasional phrases like mutual benefit and cross-species friendship. He smiled, knowing that he had helped plant seeds of understanding that might spread throughout the station. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council stretched out before Ambassador Sarah Chen as she prepared for the most important speech of her diplomatic career. Representatives from over 200 worlds filled the vast chamber, their diverse forms creating a spectacular array of shapes, colors, and sizes. At the center of the controversy that had brought them all here was humanity's relationship with companion animals. Sarah took a deep breath and activated her personal shield generator, not for protection, but to project a holographic display that would be visible throughout the massive hall. The image that appeared showed a simple earth house with a white picket fence and a garden full of flowers. "Honored delegates," Sarah began, her voice amplified by the chamber's acoustics. 3 months ago, the Xerillian delegation formally accused humanity of gross violations of interspecies ethics. They claimed that humans systematically enslave other species in a practice we call pet ownership. A low murmur ran through the assembly. In the Xerillian section, Ambassador Click stood proudly, his multiple eyes gleaming with satisfaction. The formal accusation had created a galaxy-wide controversy that threatened to remove humans from the Galactic Council entirely. Today I want to show you the truth about this relationship, not through words or arguments, but through direct observation. Sarah gestured to the side entrance of the chamber. I've brought with me today some representatives of the species that Ambassador Click's claims are enslaved by humans. The chamber fell completely silent as Sarah walked to the entrance and opened a specially designed containment unit. From inside emerged a medium-sized dog with golden fur and intelligent brown eyes. The dog looked around the vast chamber with curiosity rather than fear, his tail wagging slowly as he took in the unprecedented gathering of alien species. "This is Cooper, my companion for the past 6 years," Sarah announced. According to the Xerillian accusations, Cooper should be cowering in terror, showing signs of abuse or attempting to escape from his human captor. Cooper, however, was doing none of those things. Instead, he walked calmly beside Sarah, occasionally looking up at her with what appeared to be affection and trust. When they reached the center of the chamber, Cooper sat down without any visible command from Sarah, his attention focused on the fascinating array of new sights and smells around him. Ambassador Clicks rose from his seat, his 4 arms gesturing dramatically. "This proves nothing. The creature has been conditioned through years of abuse to appear compliant." "An interesting theory," Sarah replied calmly. "Let's test it." She walked several meters away from Cooper, then knelt down and called his name softly. Without hesitation, Cooper trotted over to her, his tail wagging more enthusiastically. When he reached her, he sat down again and leaned against her leg, clearly seeking affection. If Cooper were conditioned through fear and abuse, would he voluntarily approach me when called? Would he seek physical contact? Sarah stood up and walked to another part of the chamber. This time, she didn't call Cooper at all. After a moment, the dog got up on his own and followed her, staying close but not appearing anxious or desperate. A ripple of interest went through the assembly. The Altarian delegate, known for his expertise in animal behavior, leaned forward, with obvious curiosity. "Now," Sarah continued, "let me show you something even more telling about our relationship." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small rubber ball. Cooper's entire demeanor changed instantly. His ears perked up, his tail began wagging furiously, and he began making small, excited sounds. Sarah held up the ball, and Cooper's attention focused on it completely, but he made no attempt to jump up or grab it from her. Cooper loves to play fetch, but notice that he's waiting for me to throw the ball. If our relationship were based on fear and control, would he show this kind of joyful anticipation? Sarah threw the ball across the chamber. Cooper immediately bounded after it, his joy evident in every movement. He picked up the ball and ran back to Sarah, dropping it at her feet and looking up at her expectantly, clearly hoping she would throw it again. The chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. Many delegates had never seen such obvious displays of happiness and voluntary cooperation between different species. Ambassador Clicks was not convinced. "This could still be elaborate conditioning. Show us what happens when the creature disobeys." Sarah nodded. "An excellent suggestion." She threw the ball again, but this time when Cooper brought it back, she gave him a different command. "Cooper, stay." Cooper sat down but kept looking longingly at the ball in Sarah's hand. After a few seconds, his excitement overcame his training, and he stood up, taking a step toward the ball. The chamber held its breath, waiting to see how the human would punish this act of disobedience. "It's okay, boy," Sarah said gently, reaching down to pet Cooper's head. "I know it's hard to wait when you're excited." Cooper's tail wagged at her gentle tone, and he leaned into her touch. Sarah then gave him a treat from her pocket and threw the ball again, letting him chase it happily. The Altarian delegate stood up. "Ambassador Chen, may I approach and examine this creature more closely?" "Of course, but let me introduce you properly first. Cooper, this is a friend." As the Altarian approached, Cooper showed mild curiosity but no fear. When the alien knelt down and extended a hand, Cooper sniffed it politely, then allowed himself to be petted by the stranger. "Remarkable," the Altarian murmured. "This creature shows no signs of trauma, fear, or conditioning. His responses appear completely natural and voluntary." More delegates requested permission to approach. Soon, Cooper was surrounded by a small group of aliens, all marveling at his friendly, relaxed demeanor. He seemed to enjoy the attention, accepting pets and treats from multiple species without any sign of distress. "You see," Sarah addressed the assembly, "Cooper isn't here under duress. He's here because he trusts me and enjoys new experiences. Our relationship isn't based on dominance and submission, but on mutual affection and care." She activated her holographic projector again, showing images of Cooper's daily life. Cooper sleeping peacefully on a comfortable bed. Cooper playing in a large fenced yard. Cooper receiving medical care from a veterinarian. Cooper interacting gently with human children. Cooper has never known hunger, cold, fear, or abandonment. He receives the best medical care available, high-quality food, comfortable shelter, and constant companionship. In return, he provides me with loyalty, protection, and unconditional love. Ambassador Clicks stood again, but his voice was less confident than before. "Even if this individual creature appears content, what about the millions of others? How do we know they're all treated so well?" Sarah smiled. "An excellent question. Human society has extensive laws protecting animal welfare. We have organizations dedicated to preventing abuse, shelters for abandoned animals, and strict penalties for anyone who mistreats a pet." She showed more holograms displaying animal shelters, veterinary hospitals, and pet supply stores. spend billions of credits annually on pet care, food, toys, and medical treatment. Does this look like the behavior of a species that views pets as mere property? The Verdanian delegate, whose people were known for their empathy, spoke up. Ambassador Chen, can you explain how these relationships originally developed? Certainly. Thousands of years ago, wild dogs began following human settlements, scavenging for food scraps. Over time, humans realized that these dogs could help with hunting and protection. Dogs realized that humans provided reliable food and shelter. Sarah gestured to Cooper, who was now lying contentedly on the chamber floor, surrounded by fascinated, alien delegates. This partnership evolved over millennia into the relationship you see today. Dogs changed physically and behaviorally to become better companions to humans. Humans developed emotional bonds with dogs that are as strong as family relationships. But what about other species? Asked the crystalline Silitheri representative. Surely not all of your pets evolved this partnership? You're right. Cats domesticated themselves by controlling rodent populations around human grain stores. Birds, fish, and reptiles are appreciated for their beauty and unique behaviors. Each relationship is different, but all are based on providing proper care and respecting the animal's natural needs. Sarah called Cooper back to her side. The dog immediately got up and trotted over, settling down next to her with obvious contentment. The bond between humans and companion animals represents something beautiful and rare in the galaxy. True interspecies cooperation based on love, trust, and mutual benefit. We don't see pets as property or slaves. We see them as family members, with different needs and abilities. Ambassador Clix sat down heavily, his accusations clearly weakened by the evidence before him. The Altarian delegate stood once more. I move that the charges against humanity be dismissed. What we have witnessed today is not cruelty or enslavement, but one of the most remarkable examples of interspecies harmony in the known galaxy. A chorus of agreement rose from the assembly. Even some of the Xerillian delegates were nodding their heads in acknowledgement. As the session concluded and delegates began filing out of the chamber, many stopped to pet Cooper one more time or to ask Sarah questions about pet care. Cooper, for his part, seemed to have enjoyed meeting so many new friends. Sarah looked down at her companion as they prepared to leave. Well, boy, I think we've helped the galaxy understand something important today. Cooper wagged his tail and leaned against her leg, blissfully unaware that he had just helped preserve humanity's place in the Galactic Council and opened minds across the galaxy to new possibilities for interspecies relationships based on love rather than fear.